here's the story. So Blake worked for me at Fox News for years, probably more closely than anybody, like intimately at Fox. And I love Blake. And Blake is obviously an unusual person, but just a wonderful person and a really deeply decent person.
I mean, it's true.
And obviously, yeah, Blake's weird, but like Blake is the best. And people who love Blake really love Blake. And there's a little group of people who, you know, we all know each other. We all talk about Blake. So Blake got caught up right at the height of all this insanity, true insanity called cancel culture. But it was more than that. It was like French Revolution stuff. And someone like, you know, Blake is naughty. Blake is a racist. Well, actually, as I would always say, Blake is actually not a racist. And I would admit it. He's not. He's a Christian who believes that God created everybody. So he's actually not a racist. But Fox overreacted, of course, and he left. And then Fox denounced him. They tried to get me to denounce him. Suzanne Scott tried to make me denounce Blake, and I refused. Something I'm proud of, but whatever. It was just awful. It was the saddest moment in the 15 years that I spent there. And then Blake's unemployed and unemployable. And I get this, and I feel terrible, and I feel like I've got a moral obligation to help Blake. But who's going to hire Blake? Because he's like in the New York Times. He's like a bad person when actually he's a great person. Charlie Kirk calls me. He's like, I'm thinking about hiring Blake. I was like, God bless you, Charlie. What's he like? I said, well, Blake's very eccentric, like, no kidding. He's the only person who ever lost weight eating junk food. Like, he's a really unusual person. Like, we talk about Blake all day long. But he's a wonderful person, and he's incredibly talented. No one disputes that, and I think you should do it. He does. Charlie and I talk about it. Then Blake and I talk about it. We're having these, like, conversations behind the scenes about each other. And not only does Charlie hire Blake, he puts us, it makes me emotional, he puts Blake on the air as if to say, I know this man. He is a good man. You will judge me for doing this. I'm doing it anyway because it's the right thing to do. And then, of course, it becomes this whole thing where Blake is like a true asset to him. But when he first did it, it was like, no, I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do. This is the last thing I'll say before turning over to Blake. I've been in this business my whole life. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. Everyone's like, oh, I'm for free speech or whatever, until it hurts me, at which point, like, sorry, pal, good luck. But Charlie pivoted against that in a way that exposed him and his group, Turning Point, to ridicule and risk, and he did it anyway. And all week I've been talking to people about this, like, that was the acid test. Those of us in this business know how brave that was. It was the bravest thing. Anyway, sorry, Blake.
I remember talking to you about that because I actually was weighing another employment option, and I was going, you know, as you said, I was like, I joined.
Which I think you maybe were behind that one too.
Yeah, I was desperate to get
it was
this
another
man a
option,
job.
and I remember just, I won't say what it was for, but we were talking about it, and I think the one that you really pointed out that was really important, he's like, Blake, I think the most important thing, like, Charlie is for real a sincere Christian.
Yes.
And I think you're going to want to work for someone who is a for real, sincere, deeply believing Christian.
Yes.
And, you know, because then you'll disagree on a lot of things, but you will align on really important things.
Yes.
And I think that was what carried the day with me. And I'm very glad it did. And, you know, at the time, as you said, it was like, at the time I came in, he was just a very different person.
Yes.
And it was over time realizing all the ways that, as you say, it's like, you have to really see it. You're like, is this for real? Like,
you and I talked about this.
What is it? Is this going to work? You would also have that where you're like, this can't possibly work, right? And it does. And it does because he's so completely, intently sincere and fully all in on it. And I think that's what, like, amazed young people, like, you know, when you go to these campus events, and, you know, I think there's a lot of, you know, you'll see these people online who are, like, very, like, performatively trad or Christian or whatever, because it, like, owns the libs or whatever.
Yeah,
and then,
exactly.
But Charlie is just like, no, I like 100% believe in this, because I believe it is true and because it is important, and I want everyone else to believe in it because it is true, and I think it is the most important decision they will ever make. And it would always shine through in what he was doing and how he behaved, that he really believed that